I didn't really think that it would take an actual YouTuber in order to make a decent adaptation of a video game, but it seems that is the case now. Mark, if you are listening to this, and I doubt that you are because I am small potatoes compared to you, congratulations, you actually did something that most big film studios are incapable of, and that is actually making an adaptation of a interactive medium in a non-interactive medium film from a game. And to be perfectly honest, I am genuinely surprised because when I walked into this thing, I mean, I was a fan of his stuff. I mean, I haven't been as actively a watcher of his stuff as I used to be, but at the same time, I wanted to go in and think maybe this could actually be something of a good adaptation that was loyal but not cringy. Maybe something that wasn't necessarily just an ego project, but something more of a passion project, because that is the difference. Because you want to be able to think, hey, you know what? Maybe we can actually have something that is good and something that is actually somewhat well put together, but then not too cringy about it, not too, hey, I'm the one making the movie, so I'm the one who has to be the hero, I'm the one who has to fix everything. Well, it's kind of hard to compare this to other video game adaptations because of the fact that it's kind of an indie project, but here's my big thing. I just got done watching Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, and the thing is about that one is that genuinely everything about it was awful because it was the worst kind of adaptation, where it thought that the only thing that someone had to do was make a bunch of references to a media project or media property and say, hey, you know, do you guys remember that from the game? Do you guys remember that from the game? And every time they did it, I found a sense of guilt going, hey, I remember that, but you know what? Doesn't make this a good movie because you have zero thematic consistency, your tone is all over the place, and quite honestly, your movie looks like it was filmed with the budget of a ham sandwich. You have either a film that is trying too hard to be different from its source material, and it doesn't even resemble anything that it's based upon, but then at the same time, on the other hand, you have something that is quite literally just, it's like a cameo, member berries, or I remember that from the game. That's literally it. And there's nothing else to it. There's just, well, simply put, there's basically just nothing there except a bunch of cameo characters thrown into a movie that doesn't, it resembles what it's based upon, but there's no talent or like, hey, we are for people who haven't played this game, or we're trying to actually make a movie that's not just some super direct adaptation. Going in from that, though, to watching Iron Lung, I own the game. I haven't actually played it, but I've seen his playthrough of it to some degree, purposely avoiding the ending, though, because I know that sometimes endings can be spoiled if you watch them in their entirety. The fact remains is that when I was watching this, I didn't expect it to be great. And while I will say that for a first-timer, this guy really is actually a pretty good actor. Not every time, not every scene was flawless or Oscar-worthy, but the fact that this dude came in from being a YouTuber to making a movie, and I know he did that In Space with Markiplier a couple of years ago, he still did a better job than most of like the newcomer actors that I've seen. And the fact that he did everything, you know, produced, wrote, edited, and all that, and directed, which is probably the biggest thing. The fact that he did all of that on a budget of $3 million and made a film that actually kind of creeped me out in a way that was like, it kind of felt like a film from the 70s almost. Something that was old school type horror, where it was more cosmic horror, where it didn't really need to tell you everything. It just said, you know what, we're going to put you in this bottle, just like the game, except in the movie, we're actually going to give slightly more context because we only have 2 hours to really tell you everything that you need to know. And we're going to go from the word go, we are going to be in this dark, dismal little tube with a single guy with a little voice on the radio telling you, hey, you know what? The whole universe is screwed. The silent rapture has happened. And there is very little hope left, if any at all. Unlike the game, which there's basically hardly any voice acting, here, obviously, non-interactive medium, you need some kind of exposition, you know, maybe a little bit more music, more dramatic camera action and all that. That does add, but I will say, this film is a little slow, considering the game is, once again, it's an interactive medium. You have that. Your hands are always busy and your mind is always moving. With a movie, though, you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen. So that's more the simple fault of the game and the simple challenges of adapting something like this into a film. Now, I will say this, that once the movie finds its pacings and it actually gets going, yeah, it actually does get kind of weird. And there was a few moments I went like, what in the hell am I even watching? But in the good way, not in the like, wow, that looks fake. Or, I mean, once again, this is an indie movie. This is not some big giant Marvel film with a $300 million budget. And yeah, once the film finds its stride, it gets a lot better. The first act, I would say the first third at least, is very, I would say, exposition-y. But the thing is, what the trick that this movie does well is the fact that there's not a lot to adapt. It is a bottle film in and of itself and a bottle game. It is a tiny story that is basically, you are this tiny thing in this grand universe, and the world is going to be really reflective of that. You feel that you are at the mercy of this world, and this world is like just terrible. Everything about this world sucks. Everything's limited. Supplies are limited. People are hostile towards each other. It feels like an extremely hopeless world. And even like something like Alien, there is like a little bit of hope, or maybe there's like some sort of advancements that make life less miserable. But here, everything is on the back foot. And this world, this blood ocean, is just this horrifying hellscape where there's no light. Everything is just dark. You can't see outside. While I will say that this film it's not like a film that's like super enjoyable to watch on your own. So like watch it with other people, because you can kind of maybe talk during the very repetitive and somewhat slow parts. But once that second half kicks in, the film adapts a few things that the game kind of maybe hinted at, or maybe not necessarily even made a reference to. This film gets into some body horror, it gets into psychedelic cosmic horror, and genuinely a lot of things about this film. It is a very good adaptation in the sense that it doesn't make me feel like I'm constantly being nudged by the director going, hey, do you remember that from the game? Do you remember that from the game? But it also respects its original lore and its atmosphere, so it adapts it without being too cringy about it. And maybe that's because it's done by a gamer who actually played the source material, and it doesn't, like, it feels more accurate. And considering that I'm doing a review of this over that of Get Help was a great movie, but this one genuinely surprised me, because Sam Raimi is someone who I know is a good director. He's been doing this for 40 years at this point, whereas Markiplier just did this, and the fact remains is that I was not really going in with super high expectations. It's the fact that he managed to meet my expectations and then exceed them is what made me so impressed by this. It is extremely well lit, in the sense that it's not well lit at all. It's very atmospheric. It's creepy. You get this feeling of this unease from pretty much the entire film. You kind of feel this oppressiveness, the pressure of an ocean surrounding you and pressing down on you as you struggle to breathe and figure out really how the hell you're going to get out of the situation. Yeah, to walk out of an adaptation and actually go, maybe this will be a good blueprint for future video game projects, because even like the Mortal Kombat movie from 2021, I was not a giant fan of, because of the changes they made to it. Instead of just like, I'm always yelling at the screen saying, just adapt the story. Don't embellish a bunch of stuff. Just adapt what is there, please. But yeah, good job, Mark. And if you do ever listen to this, I kind of got into the whole YouTube thing because of you. I remember watching SCP and all that a long time ago, and I went, this guy's got moxie. I might give it a try. And lo and behold, it took COVID and a bunch of other things to happen in my life to give me the chance to be somewhat creative. But yeah, I would give this, surprisingly, I would give it an 8 out of 10, and that is partly because I am a fan of his work, and I am a fan of the idea of this more independent movement of film coming back. We used to do this back in the 80s and the 70s more, and I feel like film has reached a zenith with all these big giant films that are so overly expensive that they can't even make their money back anymore. So yeah, I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Go and see it, support independent filmmaking, and, bring some popcorn and bring some buddies. Because, as I said, this one is not really one to watch on your own unless you're really into being tense the entire time. 8 out of 10, folks. I will see you guys in the next one. And as I said, go and see it. It's a nice little romp. Good thing to get scared about.